Coming up on the Modern Dealer Podcast, David and I are talking Google Analytics, UTM Codes, the sequel to Top Gun after 35 years, AirPods versus AirPods Pro, some serious shit, and look who's turning 50. All that and more on this week's episode of the Modern Dealer Podcast. Welcome in to episode 028 of the Modern Dealer Podcast. My name is David Farmer, and with me, as always, is David Bertoncini. How you doing, David?
I'm back in the studio. That's a good start, right?
Absolutely, it is. Glad you're back from the Pacific Northwest. How was your trip?
It was great until I started to feel a little sick and decided to pack up the family and myself, and little one was not feeling well, so we bolted back down here to the sunny, warm sides of Florida. So we arrived back on New Year's, well, really the 2nd, so I got back here early on the 2nd. And here I am, but healthy, feeling good. Everyone in the family's healthy. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely.
And we're here back in the Modern Dealer Podcast studios to do episode 028.
Yep, it's hard to believe. We're already at 028. It's a new year. Got a lot of exciting things in store for 2020. And that's kind of where I wanted to kick off our main topic. But before we do that, let's just do a couple of our normal things. The first thing we have to do is we do a coffee check. What do you got going on today?
All right, so I went to the mall and picked up some Nordstrom coffee, which
Nordstrom coffee, okay.
It was a little bit odd. It's over there, International Plaza, and it was just right out in part of, I guess it's part of the Nordstrom store, but it was an Americano. It's not so bad. It's you could drink it without anything added to it, but more important than Nordstrom's is, hey, this is the year, and we've waited 35 years for this sequel.
Yes, it's exciting.
This sequel made me actually join the Navy. It is our Top Gun.
So we got a little sock cam action going on for Top Gun.
Top Gun, man. So it got me pumped up when I was a kid and young adolescent teenager. Like, hey, what do you want to do in the military, in the Navy? I said, I want to work on planes.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that. I know that you were in the Navy. Did you work on what did you do?
I was an aircraft structural and hydraulic mechanic on the EA-6B Prowler, which was a cousin of the A-6. It was an A-6 station wagon, we like to call it. Kind of an ugly plane, but literally it was the loudest aircraft in the United States military.
Wow.
I actually lost a little bit of hearing in my left ear, so sometimes I may like fade out just because I have a constant tinnitus ringing in that left ear thanks to I stood on this side of the plane, so the plane was on my left side constantly outside of the aircraft. So, but no, man, it was fun. Well, I was just up there in the Pacific Northwest visiting some friends that I was in the military
with. That's where you were stationed then?
Yep, I was stationed just north of Seattle in Whidbey Island, Oak Harbor, Washington, small town of, back then it was like 15,000 people. I think it's 10x to about almost 100,000 people.
Since you've been there?
Since, over the last 20 some odd years, it's definitely grown quite a bit and expanded into a little further south in areas there. But good little town, and it's nice little sleepy town up there, and just had all my time in the military. Absolutely loved it. That was my college for me. Was
so we talked about that last episode. We talked about potentially which directions you have the option of going, looking at different education versus life experience, and how automotive can be one of those life experience career paths with Lloyd. So that was pretty cool. It
was funny. I think I may have mentioned this many episodes ago, but my start in the car business was because of a friend. She was a receptionist at a Ford dealership, Skagit Valley Ford, I think it was called back then, and she was a receptionist there, and she told me, David, you got a silver tongue, you got to get in the car business. I'm like, I hate car salesmen. I was like anti car guy back in the mid-90s, and she said, no. She had me talk to a salesperson there, and she was absolutely crushing. I think she showed me her year-to-date in February was already like 18 grand, and I was like, ugh. In the 90s, I mean, I was like, I fell out of my chair. I was like, what? You made that in a month? That's what I made in a year.
Yeah, I bet, right?
So it was military? Crazy. So that was in the military pay was not all the great back then, but it actually from that conversation influenced me to get into the car business, and then fell into Sutherland Toyota from a cold call and talked to Kelly. I can't remember Kelly's last name, but Kelly, our receptionist, back in '98.
Yep.
She was a sweetheart, and she actually said, "Well, we just so happen to be hiring this week." And I was like, "Oh, really?" I said, "Let me zip down there and do an application. I'll be there day after tomorrow when I fly in."
Very cool. Very cool. So that was 20-something odd years ago. Now we're looking at 2020. Brand new year, brand new decade. Looking forward to 52 great episodes of the Modern Dealer Podcast. I know that next month we are planning on doing a little special appearance at NADA. We probably need to spend a little bit of time figuring that out. It's already the 6th today.
We're about 5 weeks away from it, man.
So we need to get that figured out. So we will be there. So if any of our viewers are planning on going to NADA, we'd love to be able to spend a little bit of time with you while we are there. But let's kind of get into our main topic today, David, unless you got something else you want to cover.
I think something slipped away. We mentioned episode 52, and there's another 50 coming up this weekend.
There is?
There is the big 50 from Mr. David Farmer. Turns the big 50 on Sunday, the 12th, man. So Feliz Cumpleaños means happy birthday in Spanish to you.
Thank you very much.
Proud to be with you, through this journey and part of the Modern Dealer Podcast. And rock and roll, man. Hope you have fun this weekend, and it's a good time.
Yep.
So,
hard to believe. I mean, in 1970 I was born, so now it's 2020, 50 years old. I mean, I think because I was born in 70, having the the decade changeovers, 80, 90, 2000, 2010, 2020. It's always kind of a special time for me, I guess, because you make that transition from your 20s into your 30s,
right?
30s into your 40s, and now into the 50s. Fucking crazy, right?
Hey man, just think you were in the womb in 1969.
I know, it's crazy. Decades ago.
Yeah, I mean that's quite the stretch. But hey, there's a lot of what's cool about the Modern Dealer Podcast is we're talking to people of Gen X, we're talking to people baby boomers, we're talking to millennials, we're talking to Gen Y, Gen Z. So we're covering so many generations that are in the car business that still, as we spoke of many episodes ago, are learning from those baby boomers that we're trying to morph into, like, hey, there's a different way to hire, there's a different way to run schedules. I mean, it is all changing, man. But hey, back to the topic. Happy birthday to you, my friend.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it very much.
It's good stuff, and proud to be a part of the whole deal.
Yeah, so am I. Thank you so much. I'll do a little fist bump. Boom. We'll do a little. So, the main topic is relevant to the Modern Dealer Podcast, and that's what I wanted to really kind of get into for 2020. What I like to do over the Christmas break, and as things kind of get crazy and you're kind of away from what the normal day-to-day is, it gives you kind of time to reflect a little bit. And the reason that we started the Modern Dealer Podcast is I think that we both felt like the career that we've had in automotive, it gave us a different perspective than many, and we wanted to share that perspective. And I think that's the biggest part of it is our desire to want to share what the car business has been for us, what we've done in it, and what we've gained from it. And our focus really is kind of specific to what we've done in the car business. The car business is such a large industry. When you look at Tier 1, you look at Tier 3, you look at all of the vendors. I mean, it's such a huge industry. So our engagement with dealers really is on that Tier 3 level, variable operations, salespeople, sales managers, F&I managers, internet managers, general managers, and really what does the modern dealer what are they dealing with on a day-to-day basis? What can they watch the Modern Dealer Podcast and hopefully leave with some actionable content, right? So the
nuggets.
Maybe we're able to entertain for just a little bit, kind of in something that is, related to the car business. But also, I really want to be able to look at 2020 and say, can we create something that a bite-sized piece of information, kind of in something that's going to relate to the automotive industry, but something that's always constantly changing. So what I mean is each week, what I want to do with the Modern Dealer Podcast is I want to create a new piece of content that is relevant to Google Analytics. So each week, we want to deliver one element of Google Analytics that will provide a deeper understanding of the analytics platform and really try to demystify what Google Analytics is and how to use it. So with that,
it looks like when you look at Google Analytics, for me, it's like looking like at a 110-story building, and you want me to climb the stairs, and it's like, dude, this is a lot. I mean, there's just so many different levels and so many different things to it. But so what you're saying is through this next journey, in the next 12 months, we're going to basically cover every floor, maybe just a little, take a little bit of nugget from each floor to try to understand how a dealer can take, 5 minutes and understand a different aspect of Google Analytics, because man, it's a beast,
right?
It's
a beast. Yeah. So I mean, it's like, how do you eat a 800-pound elephant, or whatever the saying is? It's one bite at a time, right? Yep. So that's what we want to be able to do, is we want to give you a bite full of Google Analytics each week. I think it's going to kind of force us to do a little bit of research, and at the end of 2020, our education level around Google Analytics is going to be much higher than it is right now.
And so will yours. You guys, and as the listeners and viewers, I mean, we want to make sure that you just get a nugget, just some little nugget that you can go back and say, hey, you know what? Shit, I just picked up something on the way to work today. I was listening to the Modern Dealer Podcast, and this is what I learned. I've got a dealer out in Arizona, says he listens. He has a dealer in Las Cruces, and he drives from Las Cruces, New Mexico, over to Santa Maria, California. And in that 45-minute journny, you tune into the Modern Dealer Podcast.
Well, hello. We appreciate your attention and your time very, very much. So I figured that would be a good way to get a little bit better understanding of what Google Analytics is. As you said, it is like looking at a skyscraper, and there's so much in it. And the interesting thing is, it's not built for automotive. It's built for any type of website.
E-commerce and,
anything, everything, any type
authors.
Of website. And another thing is Google is such a large company. I mean, they got thousands and thousands of employees and engineers. I don't know how many people are working on Google Analytics, but they are constantly changing what they do, how they do it, making drastic changes at a drop of a hat. So for any one person to be an expert in Google Analytics, it's all you need to do. I mean, your whole life needs to be wrapped around utilizing Google Analytics to be that expert. Now, in automotive, nobody would expect you to be the expert in Google Analytics, nor should you be. Your job is to manage people, manage product, manage advertising, manage sales, customer experience. There's so many things that go into variable operations, and depending on what you're doing on a daily basis, Google Analytics should not be the top, your top priority. However, it's something that we all in the industry should have a good understanding of what it is, what it does, why it does what it does. And I don't want to take the Modern Dealer Podcast and make it a how-to podcast. I mean, the Modern Dealer Podcast really is about commentary around different topics. But one little nugget I think will be very helpful. So, what is Google Analytics, David? Do you know?
Well, going off the slide, I could quote the slide and just say, hey, it's a free tool used to track website activities such as session duration, pages per session, and bounce rate of individuals using the site, along with information such as the source of the traffic. To you, obviously, as a dealer, we want to know how many people are hitting our websites, and what they're doing, how long they're staying there before they bounce out, and what page of the site made them bounce out. So I think of as Google Analytics I'll give you one more example. It's like when you walk into the cockpit, as we were talking about aviation earlier, of an aircraft, you know, hundreds of dials and controls and such. In an old aircraft now, they've got it down to just basically a couple touchscreens that you have all your information on. But still, you still need to know what dial you're looking at to get that quick glimpse of information to pull up that. Okay, so Google Analytics is going to be that quick little gauge to see what is our bounce rate. Okay, so what are we doing wrong? Call your website provider and say, hey, WTF, man, what are we doing here? Get that fixed. Spend a whopping 90 seconds in that little piece.
Yeah, so what you're speaking of, David, in my opinion, is a key performance indicator, or a KPI. So a KPI is just a piece of information. It's a key performance indicator. Now, in Google Analytics speak, a key performance indicator might be a bounce rate. It might be overall users. It might be time, average session duration. It might be, anything, any piece of data that you're looking at. And really what I like to think when looking at Google Analytics, what I like to think about is how can I gain some actionable insight from that key performance indicator to let me know what direction I need to go. Just like you mentioned about a cockpit, is you look at a gauge, you see it's at whatever, wherever the gauge is at.
In the middle.
Yeah. Now, so depending on if that gauge is in the middle, that might be good. It might be bad.
Right.
It's just going to depend on the context around whatever that key performance indicator is and what you can do about it. So, for example, I think it's always very important to be able to look at, month-over-month trends. Is it up? Is it down? Of course, you're going to have variations based on how many days, what season it is, how many Saturdays you had in a month, especially in automotive retail. It's going to change a lot of those things. I mean, so if you're within 5 or 10% month over month, no reason to be alarmed. But I mean, if you're 15% higher, 15% lower in any of those key performance indicators, it gives you a direction to look a little bit deeper. So just like you said, looking at a dashboard, a cockpit, everything is looking good. You see something that's a little bit out of whack, then you can kind of dig in and dig a little bit deeper. Until you know really what that dashboard is, you're not going to know what you're looking for. And that's kind of what I wanted to get into, just the kind of the very basics today of Google Analytics. So just a super brief history of Google Analytics. Google acquired a company named Urchin Software Corp in 2005, and that was really the beginnings of the Google Analytics platform as we know today. They rebranded it to Google Analytics in 2006. Now, one of the things that you might have heard about the Urchin Software Corporation, that name before, based on what we now know as a UTM code. Now, are you familiar with what a UTM code is?
Heard of it before, but can I tell you what UTM stands for off the top of my head? Not at the moment.
Okay, so most people really don't know what it stands for, but most people know what it is. So let's talk about what it is, and then we'll talk about what it stands for. So one of the things with Google Analytics it allows you to do is measure all of the traffic that's coming to your dealership's website. Okay. So this is probably one of the most important features of a automotive dealership using Google Analytics, is they want to be able to use that the reporting capabilities in Google Analytics to find out the money that you're spending in the digital marketing aspect, the success of that. Meaning, are you spending money with AutoTrader? Are you spending money with Google for pay-per-click advertising? Do you have any other type of digital marketing out there? Email marketing, video marketing, display marketing? And the way that Google is able to report on that is anytime somebody clicks on one of those, whether it's a display ad or a button on a website that's going to bring that customer from that ad, that video, or that website to your website, we're going to be able to track that engagement or where that traffic is coming from, and we can do that using a UTM code.
And
so
on the page.
Yeah. So for example, you have the URL of your dealership's website and whatever landing page that you're going to want that customer to land on, whether it's a special landing page, whether it is a search results page or a vehicle display page or whatever it is. You can take that URL and then you can append it by adding more information or data at the end of it. You start that by doing a question mark UTM underscore content equals. So anytime that you look at one of these URLs with the UTM code on it, you'll be able to see where it starts. It's the URL where you want the customer to land, and then it's going to separate itself by using that question mark. And then there's specific pieces of data that we can put in this UTM code. Now, what's cool about that is you're going to have the ability to add content, add medium, source, and campaign information. So with that, you can identify it. So if you're running let's say it's a Facebook marketing campaign, maybe you want to use the UTM content as a display ad, the medium, social, and the source, Facebook, and the campaign, the year-end sales event. So you build out a special UTM code that includes that content, and that every time a customer clicks on that, the customer is going to go to the URL that you're going to include there, but then Google Analytics is going to pull in the content, the medium, the source and the campaign and make that all reportable information.
Gotcha.
So, for example, if you have 7 different campaigns running for Facebook over a 6 or 8 month period of time, you'd want to use the content, the medium, and the source would be the same, but the campaign would be different. And then over time, you can go into the reporting in Google Analytics, and you'll be able to see all the traffic that you've been able to generate based on your Facebook marketing campaign. And you could break it down by the campaign itself. You can break it down by any one of these pieces of content, and then also the date range.
Right.
And that's just kind of one way that you can do it. So anyways, I digress. I went a little bit deep into the UTM code.
But that's a good little nugget to have, because it's a term that's thrown around in Google Analytics, and then you've got some rep coming in, some hotshot rep into your dealership telling you, hey, we're going to drop this UTM code, and you're looking at them like, what the fuck's
I don't know what UTM
code?
Exactly.
What does that mean? But I mean, basically, it's the Urchin Traffic Monitor. So
yes,
code.
Exactly. So that came from the name of the company that Google bought, Urchin Software Corp. They developed this Urchin Traffic Monitor, which is still in use today, called the UTM code.
Every time I think urchin, I think of a sea urchin.
I do.
That
I know,
big
right?
spiny thing that you step on a coral and you are freaking in pain.
Yeah.
Those things look mean. But I mean, I guess the urchin would be all the points that they can give you as far as sharp points of information.
Ding, 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 ding. Yeah. Like
Genius.
Mind blown.
Mind blown. Genius.
All right, so another interesting point about Google Analytics is that it really is the de facto standard reporting platform for all websites around the world. And actually, Google Analytics is used by around 49.95% of the top 1 million websites around the world, as ranked in 2010 by Alexa Internet, a tracking company.
That was back in 2010.
That was back in 2010. Yeah.
So here we are, fast forward 10 years later.
Yeah.
Pretty much, over 1 million companies have got to have it by now.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of other analytic platforms that you can buy, that you can invest in, and that you can utilize. But this really is kind of the de facto standard, and it's free.
Yeah.
Or at least there's a free version of it. There's also a paid version, Google Analytics 360. If you are in digital marketing, a lot of the larger companies will invest into that 360 platform that gives you a little bit more capabilities, the ability to manage multiple locations, but it is very expensive. It's like 10 grand a month just to have access to Analytics 360. Yeah.
That is a lot.
So we're going to move into a little bit more information about what Google Analytics is. On the MDP clock, it just clicked over to 25 minutes. So we still have a few minutes before we have to take our first break. So Google Analytics really allows you to measure, report, and analyze on 3 key areas. What are the 3 key areas, David?
We talk about acquisition, how many people came and where they came from, behavior, what they did while they were there, and then conversion. That's really what's most important to us, all of us. If they take actions, what you wanted them to take. So like setting an appointment, coming into the showroom, that is action because that conversion would be into a car sale. Yeah.
So what's interesting about this is those are really the 3 basic top-level areas of what Google Analytics does. It allows us to measure, report, and analyze around acquisition, just like you said, how many people and what people came to your dealership's website and where they came from. And then in the behavior section, we can find out what they did while they're there. How many pages did they look at? How long were they on individual pages? This is where that bounce rate will come into play. So I think bounce rate is a key performance indicator that we've been looking at in the automotive space for years, right? Is how long are they spending on your site? Now, for example, bounce rate, what that means is if somebody gets to your website on an individual page and then leaves before going any deeper. I think a lot of people say that if your bounce rate is 30% or less, you're probably in good shape. If it's any more than that, maybe you have something that you need to look at. So again, looking for that insightful information that allows you to take action, and the bounce rate is one of those things, and that would be a behavior that a customer takes while they're on the site. And then the other big key area is conversion. What actions did they take, and were they ones that you wanted them to take? So you mentioned like scheduling an appointment or converting into a lead. Now that could also be, did they look at any photos? Did they look at a search results page? Did they look at a vehicle detail page? Did they schedule service? We talked about fixed operations along with variable operations. I think a lot of people kind of exclude a lot of the tracking and all of the service-related activity on a website and really focus more on just variable operations. But I think that there's a huge opportunity to kind of dig a little bit deeper from a fixed operations side and what actions the customers are taking. So conversions are also what actions, again, what a customer you'd want them to take. So I said earlier that Google Analytics is not built for a car dealer. It's built for any website. So, that conversion activity, the event, the goals that somebody selling T-shirts would be looking at is going to be different than what a car dealership is going to look like.
Right.
We're not really selling cars online like we would be selling T-shirts online. So we really can't look at an overall sale conversion rate, but we can look at the activities that would lead up into a sale.
Right.
And then we can get into the goals and the actions and events that customers can take. And the events and the goals are different things that you can set up on your dealership dealership website. So as we move forward into 2020, we're going to talk about a lot of different pieces around Google Analytics. We're going to take just like one chunk and dig into it a little bit. So hopefully each episode in 2020, you're going to be able to have that information. So the MDP clock is now, it says 29 minutes and 19 seconds. So we got to wrap up the first segment of the Modern Dealer Podcast. So please do us a favor, stay tuned for the second segment, and we'll be right back.
Buying a car should be easy. Say hello to Shopper Express, the way car buying should be. With Shopper Express, once you find your car, you can get our best price up front with no hassles. You can personalize your individual payment by selecting from financing or leasing options. Select your desired finance or lease term, adjust your down payment, even research all the available offers, rebates, and incentives, and then apply them to your deal. You can get a personalized trade-in value from Kelley Blue Book instantly. And in just minutes, you can get an express cash offer for your trade-in that's good for 7 days. Plus, research and select available protection plans. You can apply for financing and even get your credit score without your Social Security number. Configure your entire purchase transaction from anywhere in just minutes. Schedule an express delivery, so when you're ready to buy, you can be in and out in an hour or less, or request to have your next car delivered to you. Enjoy a better way to buy a car with Shopper Express.
Welcome back into episode 028 of the Modern Dealer Podcast. Back from our break, getting back into the second segment. And before we get too far, I just want to let everybody know that I'm drinking the Holiday Blend. I have a few left. I got another a quick cup full during our break before we're coming back. Just want to let you know that.
I did snag one on the break, so I converted Nordstrom to the Holiday Blend since it was
good
all
stuff.
Kind of holidays, since we're just coming off the holidays and everything. Speaking of the holidays, hopefully you had the opportunity to, if you're new to our show and you've enjoyed our show so far, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Turn on notifications.
Ding!
And make sure that you are up to speed with the latest episode of the Modern Dealer Podcast. And I'll turn that back over to you.
Awesome.
Mr. Farmer.
So before we go any further let's, what we were talking about on the break was the Apple AirPods Pro. You said you got that for your Christmas present. You know what's so funny is we talked about my Apple Watch on last episode because I got it, I broke it, I got a replacement through Apple Care, which was very cool. At the same time, when I updated to get the watch, I also got a pair of the AirPods, and I love them. I think they're fantastic. They work really great. And then like the week after I got these, they released the Pro version of it, which is you got for Christmas from your wife. So that's very cool.
For Christmas, which are a bit shorter and such, so you can see those there. But no, I didn't. I was like, do I want to be the AirPod dude? I'm like, no. And then you start to use it.
You go, they're fucking cool.
And I was just like, they're so fucking cool, man. You just like, you got to be the AirPod dude, because now I can like walk around my house and listen to a book. And do other things, and like, man, I take phone calls, meetings, like everything. I'm the AirPods dude. So if I talk to you and I'm on the AirPods, like it can't even tell. Well, the crazy thing is this is I was telling you on the break the story. I have a Tundra with dual exhaust on there. I had one in, and then I was just like, I put the other one in as I was going through the car wash because I wanted to kind of hear in both ears what I was listening to. I couldn't hear the truck. I couldn't hear the car wash. Not really. I mean, very faintly, I could hear the car wash around me. I'm like, this noise cancellation and these AirPods.
That's some serious shit, huh?
Is sick, man. This is some serious shit. So,
as Doc Brown would say, that's some serious shit.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
I would not drive with them both in, because if a car's honking behind you, you probably won't hear it. With your windows up and like maybe, whatever you're listening to, if it was loud. And I was just like listening to a book, and I was like, whoa. that could be dangerous if you have them both in.
They
so
did say
don't drive with both of them in. I'm pretty sure that's a warning somewhere.
Yeah, Apple did say that they see the AirPods Pro as a companion to the regular one. So this is really designed for kind of everyday use, and you'll be able to hear what's going on around you, and but you can still talk. You put those things on; that's for some serious listening.
Yeah,
because of the noise cancellation that's in there.
Too much.
Yeah.
Careful.
So we talk about Christmas presents. Oh, another thing I wanted to say, I am an Apple fanatic, and I have been for many, many, many years. I don't know if you can see right behind David Bertensini. You can see my computer back from the early 90s. That was before they even had a track pad. It's a track ball. And then you got the
Mac machine there.
Yeah, Mac. That is the Macintosh SE behind me there. That was before they even had hard drives in machines. It was just two dual floppy disks. So, anyways, I Apple fanatic. I decided to go ahead and get the Apple credit card. Just because I thought it was cool.
Right.
And one of the things when you opened up the AirPods next to your phone, it gives you a little notification what the power is and the battery thing. It was the same thing with the activating the credit card. When it came, I'll show everybody in case somebody wants to get one too, because it is cool. There's no
card number.
There's no card number on it, so I don't know if you'll be able to see that there. I'll try to get a little zoom in there. But there's no card number on there. It's just white. It's very Apple-licious, that's what I like to say. But what's cool, just to activate it, you just put your phone up to it here. I don't know if it'll do it now. Because there it is right there.
Wow.
You can kind of see how it just automatically pops up. It says that the card is already activated, and that's the activation process. So very cool Apple stuff. I'm very happy with this so far. I don't think I'll ever use it, hopefully. Because I think the interest rate is not low.
No.
It still is a credit card.
It is basically to show, hey, I am an Apple dude. Here's my card. Plug it into whatever you need to plug it into, pay for
and
whatever.
And truth be told, the only reason I decided to get it finally, because I wanted to get it as soon as I saw it, just to have it. But really, the only reason I did is I ordered a new MacBook. Now this is not it here. This is my 15-inch. I got a 16-inch coming in a couple days.
Fancy.
Yeah, and I completely spec'd it out, so it's going to have 64 gigs of memory. It's the 8-core turbo. I mean, it is a beast. But for what I do, editing video, it is something that'll be well used. That's for sure.
Laser guided cruise control, remote start, lane avoidance, and all the extra features that a car would have. But in a MacBook,
exactly. Yeah, it's a beast. And we'll talk about that. I guess next week or the week after when I actually have it. But this right here, the reason I got the Apple credit card is they gave you 6% cash back if you bought it with the credit card. So 6%. I mean, if you're curious on to know what a 16-inch MacBook costs fully spec'd out, go to Apple. It's not cheap.
Yeah, and you basically save the sales tax on that thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, almost a sales tax on it because that's a hefty purchase.
Yeah.
Speaking of next week, we should have
a special guest, right?
A special guest coming up next week. Somebody from the fixed operations side of the business and their evolution as a modern dealer. So stay tuned for next week's episode for our special guest.
Yeah, that should be super fun. So the other thing that we wanted to talk about today, David, is the idea of a buy center and really taking a dealership's marketing message around purchasing vehicles. Today, if you look at, this is a great opportunity for us to look back. It's the beginning of 2020, and we've been in the car business since the 90s and before, depending for me. But if we look back 10 years, we look back 20 years ago, companies like CarMax, companies like Carvana, instant cash offers, different ways for customers to sell their vehicle online wasn't available then. It's available now, right? Yep. So the car business has changed, and I think that there are great ways to engage customers and be competitive in that space for dealers. But it's very important for them to. I think it's important for dealers to really be able to figure out how can they have a competitive advantage in and around purchasing vehicles from customers. Now, there's a lot of great products out there right now. Auto Trader, KBB with their instant cash offer. I think that's a great tool where a dealership can utilize that. It provides a customer a value for a car, and as long as it is what they say it is, at Kelley Blue Book, Auto Trader, they're going to stand behind that value. Mm-hmm. Now, the challenge with that, and if I was a dealer, is as an entrepreneur at heart, I would want to make sure that I have an unfair advantage over my competition. I don't want to be working from an even playing field. I want to make sure that I have something that is going to be better, bigger, stronger, faster than the next guy, right?
Absolutely.
And if you're utilizing a tool like the instant cash offer tool and your competition is using that instant cash offer tool, there's no competitive advantage. It really comes down to where that customer decides to go, right? So I think what dealers really should look at is if you are a customer in your marketplace right now that are looking at selling their vehicle and what options do they have available to them. They're going to have CarMax. They're going to have Carvana. They're going to have other dealerships in the market. And if that customer maybe goes to CarMax, they can get a value right. Or actually, you have to go there to get a value.
Yeah, you got to show up to the store.
Carvana will give you a value straight up. TrueCar will give you a value straight up. You can get that right on the website. And then, of course, Instant Cash Offer. And Instant Cash Offer being the kind of the core tool that dealerships are using. So if I want to be able to have an unfair advantage, I do have to be able to offer something that is over and above what everybody else is. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it is a higher value. It very well probably should, probably could, but also what else can you provide? And I think that really starts to come down around the experience. So what a lot of dealerships are doing now is they're creating a buy center, right? So a buy center is going to be something that's either inside a store, a dealership, or it's going to be outside a dealership that's just designed for customers to bring their vehicle, have a professional appraisal done, and make that determination if they want to sell the vehicle, right?
So this kind of brings up a dealership that I'll give you an example. Some of the stores that I know down south in Punta Gorda. So some of the ghetto stores down there, setting up a buying center for that store. Looking at the nearest CarMax is nothing within 40 miles of that dealership. So kind of a unique market, a very seasonal town, a lot of retirees. So you got a lot of nice premium, 7-8-year-old inventory riding around with less than 30,000 miles that, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and they are no longer going to drive. They're just going to have Uber take them around. They're starting to discover a couple of these rideshare services on how to get around better. So if you were setting up a buying center, let's just say down there in that market, knowing the market, knowing you don't have a CarMax nearby, you're knowing that you are an instant cash offer store, but the Honda store across the street from you is also that, ICO, right? So how are you gonna gain that customer's attention to say, hey, this is where you need to sell your car at? Three things that I would consider if I was a dealership. Number one, I would want to figure out, I would want to be the highest bidder, right? Right.
So maybe I want to internalize the process of getting that value to a customer. Maybe instead of making it instant, you do it very fast, right? So you're able to have a person involved in putting that number on a car, especially if it's a 30 or 40,000 mile vehicle that's 7 or 8 years old, like you mentioned. I mean, that you're going to pay out of the book for that car. You're going to want to pay out of the book for that car, right?
Absolutely.
So you need to have a person involved. And I think that's one of your hottest prospects is that customer that's looking for a trade value. Now, before, when we were selling cars, you couldn't get a value over the phone, right? I mean, it used to be a game, right?
Right.
Hey, hey, Glenn Mills, what do you think at the time a 95 Camry with 30,000 miles is worth? Just get them in,
Right.
I mean, that's
Poor
what it was.
Glenn.
It doesn't matter what it is, just get them in.
Hey, Glenn, if you're watching, or listening, you're like the epicenter of a lot of our.
I love it.
Our material.
Yeah, but that was the reality then. Is customers didn't have the channels that they have now. Now they can go to Carvana.com and they can get a value. They can go to TrueCar. So dealers need to go past the whole idea of not giving a value over the phone. You need to give a value over the phone.
Absolutely.
Right? So if I'm looking at a buy center, I want to internalize the process. I want to make sure that I'm giving a real figure. That means that you're going to have an appraiser that's willing to give a value over the phone, over the internet. And maybe instead of having that that instant offer system installed on your website, you provide a way for a customer to get a book value online, but request an express cash offer. So you can give a conduit for a customer to give all their information online, but then have a process in place that is super fast, within minutes, to be able to take that request, get it to an appraiser that's able to look at that vehicle and give a subject to appraisal. As long as the vehicle doesn't have any damage, dents, dings, scratches, all the reconditioning that we know can exist, but you're giving that customer an actual value. And by doing it that way, instead of relying on a computer to give you a value, bringing a person involved, but super fast, now you're going to be able to provide a better experience for the customer where you have an actual person involved that's legitimizes that offer and gives you the ability to make that offer potentially higher if it's a vehicle that you want. And if it's a vehicle that you don't want, put it at a lower value. You have that person making an actual decision instead of just relying on a computer system to do it for you.
It's just like, calling in for customer service anywhere. I mean, these people, you want to talk to a live agent. So your dealership having that live agent, that dedicated person, which is your buyer from the store, also maybe an assistant to reach out to the customer and say, hey, Mr. Customer, you know what? We saw your information. I'm going to have Mike, he's our buyer here at the dealership. He saw the information. He's just putting a final figure on your vehicle. What's the best number we can reach you at? It looks like you're pretty close. Could you possibly bring it by the store? And if you got Mr. and Mrs. Retiree, which you're just sitting at home, maybe have a lot porter or somebody shoot out to their house. If they're within 5 miles, 10 miles of your store, take those pictures, just take that extra step. Just to put, that human touch on that transaction.
And that's how you're creating that engagement, right? That's how you're creating that experience. So the other thing I was going to mention is how can you elevate and give yourself an unfair advantage? That would be by providing that type of service where you're willing to send somebody out to take photos, to put a figure on the vehicle, but creating that true engagement, right? So the first thing, get a person involved. The second thing is making it a great experience that really further legitimizes the process. It reminds me kind of the training that we had from Toyota Quality Experience, TQE, the Grant Cardone training that we did around the trade, where the type of training we had previous was to devalue the vehicle, point out all of the dents, dings, and scratches on the vehicle, make that customer feel, oh, the car's not nice. I can see why they're not going to give us a lot of money. And flipping that script to, we love this car. This is exactly the type of car we need for our inventory. Yep. We love cars that have 140,000 miles on it. Yes, we need this vehicle. You're so lucky that you came to us because we're going to pay you a ton of money for this vehicle. Now let's go ahead and get this vehicle appraised, right?
You put on your selling hat.
Yes.
Because you got to sell that customer on the ACV you're about to present to them.
Exactly.
It's like,
get them excited and engaged.
And they're so happy to receive $1,500 for that car. Like, wow, $1,500 all at once?
Yeah.
One whole check.
Yep.
Coming to you in the next 7 to 10 days.
Yep.
In the mail.
Yeah, exactly. So
From our accounting department, as soon as we put in a check request.
yeah. So, yeah, I think you're exactly right. That being able to really legitimize the appraisal process in a buy center by engaging with the customer, creating that personal experience, but again, elevating. Another thing that you could do is also incentivize a customer in a different way. Now, like you can see here, we utilize as a company these customized Visa cards. Now, some of our dealerships opt to use these Visa cards, kind of like how Verizon utilizes them when you sign up for, a 2-year contract. They give you a $100 Visa reward card, or they give you a $200 Visa reward card. Now that $200 reward plays so much bigger than a $9 a month savings over a 2-year contract, right? So, I mean, if you think about it, you can use what bigger companies had utilized incentives for, and whether you do it with a customized card with us or you just go buy a stack at CVS, it doesn't matter. It's the idea of providing that additional value. You trade in a vehicle from us, not only are we going to give you top dollar for your car, but we're going to give you a $100 Visa if you choose to do business with us through our express process.
Yep. I mean, you just think that $100 or whatever amount you want to give that customer on top of their trade value. Yeah, it's just like how much would you have spent in advertising? How much? How much would you have spent in auction fees, transportation fees? At the block, trying to buy that car, which you're going to get with 100,000 miles on it instead of 40,000 miles on it. At the block, which has been smoked in. Mr. and Mrs. Retiree didn't smoke. No pets. They just went to the doctor's, bingo, and that was it. And that's the kind of cars that we get down here in Florida, man. Those are just the jewels that the gems, the diamonds in the rough that we would pay out of the book for, that you got to have that opportunity presented to you as a dealer that, hey, instant cash offer, well, it comes down even playing
to
platform. You got to have that unfair advantage.
Unfair advantage. So what is the differences here? Like, if you're putting in a buy center or you're really looking at your express offer system that you have in your dealership, what ways can you make that unfair advantage? Another way to do it, a company that I've been associated with for a long time is utilizing a lifetime warranty. That's one way to create a unique selling proposition when selling a vehicle. What can be a unique buying proposition? Maybe it is a $100 Visa. So if David Bertoncini is thinking about selling his Tundra truck, he goes to instant cash offer and he gets $20,000 bid for his truck, and then he goes to another dealership and it's $19,000. Of course, he's going to go to the 20, but if he gets another place that's 20, but you get a $100 Visa card, where are you going to go? You might as well get the extra $100,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's just that one extra thing that you can do to create that unfair advantage.
It is free refills.
Free refills, yeah, exactly.
Something.
Right?
I mean, just give them something, a reason to come to the store, and that would be that little thing to entice, to bring the customer,
bing, bing, bing,
push them right over the edge into your buying center. So and buying centers right now with all the competition out there, with so many, everybody's in 2020 saying, hey, we want to buy your car. You don't have to buy ours, because let's think about it. I mean, how much will you save by buying that car versus going to the block? You got to outbid everybody else, and then pay the auction fee, transportation fee, all those fees you got to pay affiliated with the block, versus you bought that one off the street. You're the only bidder.
And if you are not doing it, that means your competition is. How is CarMax and Carvana and TrueCar and Vroom and some of these other companies, what are they trying to do? They're trying to take your customer. And if you let them do it time after time after time, that's going to create a long-term problem for your dealership. So you need to make sure that you're stepping up, you're paying the money, that you're providing a great experience. And that's what, let's face it, that's what car dealers do. And that's what we do better as a group of dealers than any other online retailers that we we take care of our customers, that we are the automotive source, that we have a place for customers to come back to if they buy a vehicle from you. So doing everything that we do as great entrepreneurs in this business is really what makes the automotive industry so exciting.
Well, and like you said, if your store wins that customer, you know, they have a lot more to do at your store versus the Carvana. I mean, because Carvana is like, can you get your car serviced there? No.
They're going to rely on you, right?
Yeah,
they're going to push that to you.
Yeah, as Sam was telling us, I mean, he's going to be one of these Carvana
service outlets, reconditioning centers too, potentially, right?
Potentially. So I mean, that's the opportunity that you have to put that personal touch. Just get somebody talking to that customer at your buying center and bring them into the store and win a customer. And who knows, you know, they might have somebody in the market for a vehicle, but as I rather buy my inventory off the street than buy it anywhere else.
Yep.
So.
All right, so let's just do a quick recap and let's get out of here for today. So today, you know, one of the things that we wanted to do starting this year, it's a new decade, look forward to Google Analytics. We're going to have to kind of come up with a little term that we're going to, you know, tip of the week or something like that. But hopefully you're going to stick with us as we move forward into 2020. We're very excited for what we've been able to build so far, and we're very excited to continue to hopefully improve what we're doing and make it a little bit more enjoyable every single episode. So I think that's all I got, David. What do you got?
Well, I got my 3 tips, man. So
Excellent.
let me cover just a couple of things.
3 tips.
Ding, ding. The KPI, key performance indicators, that something you can look at on your Google Analytics dashboard to see actually, which would segue into my second tip, your buying center. And if your customers are bouncing off of your "we will buy your car, you don't have to buy ours," if they're only on there for a second, that means whatever you put out there isn't working.
Yep.
So you can actually just take a quick peek at that. That'd be for tip number 2, creating a buying center. And then with your buying center, how are you going to differentiate yourself from the dealer across the street, which is also an instant cash offer? Incentivize your customer with a Visa gift card, or you know, just pay top dollar for the trade. Make that human connection. Don't just rely on the system to take care of that customer. Reach out to them, put your arms around that customer, bring them into your store, send your lot porter out, and go take pictures, do whatever you got to do to win that trade.
All right.
Other than that,
for David and David, that's a wrap.
Happy birthday, David.